A quick note from your humble narrator. It's been brought to my attention from a few listeners that there have been a number of oddly timed, awkward commercials inserted into the podcast. I apologize for the inconvenience and appreciate everybody's patience while I look into this. I did not monetize the show on the Podbean platform, so I'm not sure why this is happening. Thanks again for your patience. Let's get into the episode.
Ladies and gentlemen,
coming up on episode 88 of the Upful LIFE podcast.
Jersey.
Especially like playing improvised music, jam music. Like you're not like, we all know like you're not just playing the same notes, like obviously. So it's like when you have to focus on that and doing it right and wondering what is right about that, like, okay, that was cool. And now we're going to play this show, but it feels different. Like, are we still doing it right? Like when you're like focusing so hard on it, you forget like how to do it almost.
Yeah,
it feels like
that head game is very strange because it's like not even, it's like silly to even be thinking right or wrong, right? It's like supposed to be expression, like, but you fall into that trap so easy. The pressure aspect of it, just like, again, there's so many incredible bands in the scene, and it makes you wonder sometimes, like, what is it about us opposed to all these other monster acts?
Do you feel that? Jersey. Do you feel that?
But I've said this before, you know, the Rock and Roll fame, you know what also they need to do is they need to add some things. Like there should be like the Grateful Dead fans, the Deadheads should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like Toads in New Haven, Connecticut, that club, you know, that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Maybe Jazz Fest maybe is like one of the greatest festivals, and you know, it's like stuff like that should be also have like its little recognition in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Side pieces, so to speak. The WWE Hall of Fame just added a new category this year where they're putting matches in the Hall of Fame. Bret Hart versus Steve Austin was the first match. So I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should learn from that, and it'll bring more interest to it. The Grateful Dead fans, you know, and millions of other like little intricates and sub Reddit, so to speak, you know, of the music world should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I'm a bozo.
Oh, yeah, I thought you had it. You recognize it.
I love you very much.
Many people like
Where all the girls go.
Let's drink a toast forever and ever. Let's drink a toast forever and ever.
Yes, indeedy. Welcome to the Upful LIFE podcast. I'm your host, B. Getz, and this is episode number 88, coming at you live and direct from the Vibe Junkie Studios in Oakland, California. 88 coming through. So grateful you are tuning in.
I love you very much.
Want to tell y'all about a really sweet spot out there in Evergreen, Colorado, just about 20-ish minutes outside of Red Rocks and a half hour outside of Denver proper. Talking about Cactus Jack's throwing down all summer live music, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Red Rocks, and a huge event going down called Down by the River, July 19th at Cactus Jack's. Music all day, all the way till 1 a.m., but a double headliner with two sets of Neighbor at 6 p.m. on the patio. Neighbor just added former Dopapod guitarist Rob Campa, and Neighbor's also playing the night before a String Cheese Incident after party. They're going late night from 11 to 1:30 a.m. on the 18th, and then two sets on the 19th, followed up by DJ Logic and Friends, 9:30 to 11. including Scotty Zwang of Sun Squabby and recently added to Umphreys, and Josh Fairman of Sun Squabby and most recently Nightcap, as well as members of Particle, Frogs Gone Fishing, and more. There's also going to be a late night hang down by the river, late night, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. with Photon, members of Thievery Corporation, and Dopapod in the mix. It's going to be a rager. And that, again, is Cactus Jacks in Evergreen, Colorado. Down by the river, July 19th, Neighbor, as well as DJ Logic and friends. Also have local cats like The Local Honeys, BC, and The Big Rig, a side stage, and a whole lot more. So check it out. There'll be a link in the show notes. Shout out to Stokey and Time to Fly Music. We'll see ya at Cactus Jacks. Yes, indeedy. And we're back. Episode 88 of the Upful LIFE podcast. And I am fresh off a New Orleans Jazz Fest 2025. Just been recovering and writing and reliving this glorious experience. So blessed to be able to get down to the Jazz Fest. Once again, my 21st year. Huge shout out, deep bow of gratitude to everybody who comes together and makes that gumbo go. You know who you is. All the musicians, the tireless musicians and artists and hospitality workers and staff and production and techs and bartenders and drivers and everybody. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This year went day 0, April 23, all the way to Cinco de Mayo. Or really till the 6th. I flew out on the 6th, which was the Tuesday after. So my longest stretch, and I have a huge piece on liveforlivemusic.com. Shout out to Live for Live Music and GMP and Purple Hat, Paul Levine, for all the opportunities and shows and experiences they facilitated down there, as well as the good folks at Backbeat Foundation and the Blue Nile and Uptown at the Maple Leaf and Steve Kelly at Le Bon Temps Ruel. Just incredible experiences across the board, and I dug deep and uncorked yet another, nocturnal transmissions reflection from Jazz Fest After Dark. So you can check that out, Live for Live Music, and on upfullife.com. And while we're at it, smash that subscribe button to the Upful Life podcast. Apply pressure to that subscribe button. Really appreciate that. Like and subscribe as the parlance goes. And if you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you have the time and are so inclined, please rate and review the Upful Life podcast on your podcast streaming platform of choice. It goes a long way to bringing those pesky algorithms in this direction and new listeners, new ears, new hearts, new souls to the Upful Life podcast. And that's a beautiful thing. If you want to holler at me with any suggestions or reflections, constructive criticisms, whatever, I love to hear from the people. Send me an email at b.gets@upfullife.com. And hey, if you're a fan of all things Upful Life and want to support the work that I do across all the formats, but especially here at the podcast, go to upfullife.com, home base. There's a support button at the top. It goes to a Venmo. Send me a few dollars for making you holla. I really appreciate that. If you have the ability to do so, and if you want to send money another way, shoot me an email, b.gets@upfullife.com. We'll figure something out. I've got a Patreon going, patreon.com/upfullife. Shout out to my subscribers over there. Going to have some bonus content and playlists and different things over there. And I'm still trying to cook up a subscription-based model. I know I've been talking about it for a while, but, you know, things done changed, and going to have to get with that program ASAP. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in and taking an interest on what I do on the Upful Life. You are hearing Nikki and the Homies, arguably the dopest show at Jazz Fest once again this year, second Sunday, uptown at the Maple Leaf, late night, 2 a.m. start. Unbelievable. Peep my article for further details, and let's get into episode 88. It's going to be a good one. Yes, indeedy. All right. We are doing it. Episode 88. I am so stoked to welcome some Jersey boys to the Upful Life podcast. Dogs in a Pile from Asbury Park. And so just to set the tone here for y'all, this conversation took place on Jam Cruise 21 in mid-February, right in the middle of the week. And this was the second time that Dogs in the Pile were on the boat. I hadn't been on the boat in a while. I scheduled this interview through Cloud9's media team. Shout out Trent and Carrie. And so that's how this came together. And this is the first time I've ever done the 5-way dance. Me and 5 band members at once in one of those tiny Jam Cruise cabins, kind of just seated in a circle, and we just had a conversation. I pressed record. It was awesome. So I came in pretty blind. Obviously, I don't live under a rock, so I'm well aware of Dogs in a Pile. They have just like a huge groundswell of support and giant buzz, not just on Jam Cruise, but in the greater jam diaspora, if you will. So I was aware of their existence and had heard a little bit of this or that, but I'm not really a huge quote-unquote jam band guy. Some of my dedicated listeners might know that already. But I am, thumb on the pulse of what's hot in the streets, and there's no denying that Dogs in the Pile are doing the damn thing. And their meteoric rise is evidence enough. So that plus, Jersey. I know I claim Philly, but technically I'm from Jersey-Delphia. So I was stoked to see these Jersey boys doing the damn thing and calling Asbury Park home. And therefore, those were a couple points that, made me gravitate in their direction. So we talk about all this stuff. The history of the band, and Jam Cruise, their first year to this year, their journey, how they came together, the origin story, the relationships, interpersonal stuff. It's a really cool and insightful conversation that I really learned a lot about, not just this band, but, a band on the road blowing up right today, what that's like. I sort of felt like my age for the first time. Maybe not ever, but it doesn't happen often, but it was clearly a generational divide. A lot of remember whens from me, but Jeremy Kaplan, who's on keys, Brian Murray, vocals and guitar, Joey Babick on drums, Jimmy Law on vocals and guitar, and Sam Lucid on bass and vocals. They were fucking cool ass dudes. And I came away from the interaction and the conversation and the experience just like wanting to like their music because I really liked them. And you're going to hear why. Because this conversation, like I said, it was a roll of the dice. You know, we're working on minimal sleep. As I always acknowledge on these Jam Cruise interviews, these cats could be doing anything else. Sleeping, getting massages, laying down with their beloved, or a random they met on the boat, in the sauna, in the hot tub, anything but talking to a nerdy reporter with a mic in his hand. But yeah, you know, a couple spliffs, good conversation, and I came away from the experience being like, hell yeah, dogs in a pile. And then I checked them out. Nick Gerlach, the cultist himself, saxophonist, and from the Frasco Pod, he sat in for a tune. It was dope. It was hard to kind of shoehorn their whole set into my schedule, which is already jam-packed. But like I said, after I spoke with them, I was stoked to check them out. So I'm going to read just a little bit of their bio, and then we'll get into the conversation. The sandy shores of Asbury Park, New Jersey, are hallowed ground in the Northeast. The rolling waves have ushered generations of venerated musicians to worldwide acclaim. Dogs in a Pile, an eclectic quintet, has emerged as heir apparent to the town's rich musical legacy. Merging funk, jazz, and rock and roll with psychedelia, the band presents a completely original vibe built on kaleidoscopic soundscapes eerily reminiscent of the days of yesteryear. Wow. No lie, I could have written that paragraph. That is strangely in my verbiage, in a beautiful way, and I think it's awesome. And whoever wrote that, tip of the cap, tip of the old Kangol. So the Dogs imply a unified approach to performance and songwriting, crafting oral mosaics through adept instrumentation and humble precocity. As avid storytellers, they draw inspiration from personal experiences, balancing life's foibles with ever-present youthful sanguinity. Wow. Another Kangol tip, 2-paragraph bangers. The rest of the stuff is kind of like origin story, and they talk about that. So I'm going to skip over the rest of that, let you know you're hearing Chop Shop from earlier this year, January 24, 25. And let's hear from the Dogs. Episode 88, the Upful LIFE podcast. I'm your host, B. Getz. Yes, indeedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jersey. Let's go. Do you feel?
All right. Well, I'm sitting here in a 10th floor cabin, Jam Cruise 21. One of the hottest bands on the scene. Everywhere I go, people ask me if I've seen Dogs. Have I checked out Dogs? And honestly, I didn't know till last night because I'm from Jersey, but I live on the West Coast. So that was my introduction to y'all. So I want to say first, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Live for Live Music. The podcast is called Upful LIFE. Just like introduce yourselves and your role in the band.
My name is Jimmy. I play guitar and I sing. I'm Sam, I'm the bass player.
Brian, I play guitar. My name is Jeremy Kaplan. I play the keyboards.
My name is Joe. I play the drums.
Right on. So, yeah, again, really stoked to finally talk to you guys. I feel like see the name everywhere. I hear the name everywhere, and people are really excited about y'all. I think the first question I want to ask is, I understand you were on the boat 2 years ago. That was your debut. A lot has happened for y'all in the past 2 years.
It's been busy, yeah.
Yeah. So what is like your initial like reaction round two? How has your experience changed with your like recent success here on the boat? Like, how were you received? What's the energy like versus last time?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, not that it wasn't warm the first time, extremely so, in fact, but it definitely, it's, you know, we have more friends on the boat now, you know, it's like, so there's people everywhere and you're always chatting and hanging out. And it's been incredible, you know, people have been playing a lot and just having a really good time.
Yeah, you guys getting around, like checking out other stuff and being jam cruisers when you're not performing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the point, all right? Like, if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong.
the first time we were on, me personally, just like the musical environment on the boat is so intense, and there's so many just like absolutely ridiculous musicians on the boat. So it can be intimidating for young musicians, especially as a drummer. There's like, it's literally drum crews. It's like has second drummers around. But to be back on now and after everything that's happened the past couple of years, and just to be able to step onto the boat with more confidence than I personally had last time, and just to kind of put your best foot forward, and to actually like, you know, meet some really cool musicians, and to be recognized by some really fucking cool musicians who I also look up to a lot. Yeah, and that's just, it's a really cool feeling to be like bumping elbows.
Yeah, brought into the fraternity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Have you noticed that in this community? Does that happen? Bands take you under their wing? Do you get, you know, kind of like big brother or uncle advice?
Yeah, man. Actually, it's funny because where we are right now, like Annabelle placed us with the Frasco gang and the Pigeons gang. Like we're all pretty much, I'm pretty sure we're all next to each other.
This hall.
Yeah, and she knew with the tour and everything, so she did that on purpose, and it's cool. I wake up every day with my robe, I look out, I see Frasco's face. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Give it up for the guitar players, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty sick. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sean Eccles and Mr. Nick Gerlach.
It's just, you know, what I find really cool about this boat is like it makes everyone feel like they're like everyone's got all the same intentions, and everyone just wants to have fun and make music, and it's like this is where you come to do that, and it's like there's no confusion, and we're all here for the same thing, you know.
Totally. I think one thing that's cool here is like camaraderie. Like obviously music business is cutthroat. People are trying to get ahead, and it's all cloud relationships and who you know. But everybody kind of checks that at the port gear, you know, on the boat, and it's just vibe. That's probably like a welcome respite from the client of the industry, I would imagine. Let's just talk a little bit about, you know, for those who aren't as well versed, like myself. I know you have a ton of fans out there. The origin story, like y'all are a young band, you guys just are a rocket ship right now. So yeah. I wanted to hear just like, you know, whatever you want to share about the origin story, how you all came together, different relationships, like before you really took off.
Pretty complicated story.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel like.
It starts with Jim and Joe. They're essentially family friends.
Yeah. If you really want to know the true origin, my dad and Jimmy's aunt used to hook up in high school. So our families have been pretty closely wound for quite some time now. Yeah, we kind of grew up together. We met Sam through a mutual buddy who we were playing with at the time, and Sam met these two in college. And
what school is that?
Berkeley School of Music.
Oh, right on.
Boston. Yeah.
That's serious business. Yeah.
They say, but I don't know.
So well, it's cool too, because like the three of us, Joe, Sam, and I were jamming together, and then Sam, I always confuse how you guys all, you know, but
yeah, it's, you know, confusing. I mean, because Brian and I are two New Yorkers, right? Everybody else is a Jersey guy.
Jersey.
Yeah, a Strong Island.
Long Island. Long Island. What's up, Long Island.
But we met Sam at Berkeley, and then he kind of like brought us down to the shore, you know?
Yeah, like Sam met Brian first, and then Jeremy second, but he brought Jeremy down first.
Yeah.
You know, because he was orange.
Brian like beat me up on the sidewalk and was like, "You have to play keyboards in this band, or I'm in with Sam."
Yeah. Right on. And so what year is this coming together, like the nucleus of the band?
Well, I think you got brought down the summer of 2018, right? That's right. Yeah, I visited the shore for the first time. I think it was January of 2019, and we played one gig together, and then we all agreed it wouldn't work out. Yeah, you know. But yeah, and then like around the spring, I started coming down more, and I took a trip up to Vermont with the guys, and I knew something really special was happening, and I
I wanted to be a part of it. So I kind of like was like sitting in, and then it just kind of like happened where I was playing half the show, and then it was like the full show. And then I think around the summer of 2019 is stuck.
Yeah, we're really lucky to like come up around Asbury Park, Jersey, because it's just like a music dominated place, really, with Bruce Springsteen being from there and stuff.
Southside Johnny.
Yep.
Southside Johnny. And like it's crazy how many like, you know, there's always cult like different groups of deadheads in places, but it's crazy in the Jersey Shore. It feels like there's like most of them for some reason. They're everywhere.
Concentration.
Very, yeah, yep. And yeah, Asbury Park has done nothing. I've played in Asbury Park since I was like 10 years old. And then it was really cool because like I've got to play the Pony a bunch, and then like Joe and I played the Pony a couple of times, and then all of them were playing there, and now we were at the summer stage this past summer. And then next year, or this year actually, we're gonna be headlining that summer stage for the first time. So we're stoked for that.
Like local boys made good. I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely coming of age story.
That's great, man.
Jimmy and I were both in like different bands when this was first starting out too. Yeah, I had to start open for Jimmy's band at Ponies.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, we've like when Joe and I really met, like I think I was like 13 or 12. I was like, and he was like, yeah. Okay, you're just like, it was like family friends, you know. And his dad always played bass, and like we jammed, and then the three of us would jam all the time at where we rehearse now.
That's cool. Is there like a vibrant music scene in the Jersey Shore in Asbury Park that you like sprouted out of?
Absolutely.
It's a very, very strong dead scene, you know, no doubt.
You could pretty much see like a band every night, like the entire year, somewhere at least.
And the whole scene knows each other. Like everybody knows each other. I was really surprised by that when I came down for the first time. It's very tight knit. It's a lot of people, but it's extremely tight knit.
It's even another thing that's cool is Danny Clinch. He's in Asbury Park, and we've developed a pretty cool relationship with him in his studio. We've played there, and our dad actually went to college with him. Yeah, it's pretty. I think my aunt knows him too. Yeah, there's jerseys.
Yeah, that's dope. He's a legend. He's like plugged in with like the greats, you know.
Yeah, you name it.
Sherman Hunglang movie. I mean, he's incredible. That's a good friend to have
for sure.
And you know, if he believes in you guys, and that's a like serious cosign, also like outwardly to the rest of the music universe. Danny thinks you're dope. That's like serious cosign. So much respect.
Yeah, he's the man. He's got good taste. There you go.
You guys ever play See Here Now?
Yeah.
Yeah? What's that like? Because I've seen that from afar and it looks super awesome. There's live surfing going on.
For me too, being like the youngest in the group and just knowing that this was like the only opportunity any kids that I went to school with were gonna like come out and actually see the band. And I remember seeing a handful of kids from my school in the crowd, and it was pretty cool.
I'm sure that was like affirming, just kind of like showing them like, yeah, I fucking did it. You know,
We're like, well, Joey went to Catholic school.
Yeah, that's exactly. So
He's in a rock and roll band.
It was just, because I never really kept in contact with too many folks I went to school with. And yeah, it was just a weird, like, oh, hey, here we are.
but the whole like community comes out to see her now, so they're going to go see whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And would you say that it's a supportive scene, like, has your back, lifting you up? Not all scenes are like that or stay like that. So it's a treat to be like the next generation of this lineage of Jersey,
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And honestly, I'm excited to like get back home, play fewer gigs. We've been on the road so much. We're like, we don't see Jersey ever.
yeah, it's been since January 7th, or 8th, I guess, since we've been in Jersey.
Yeah, okay. Look, I'm just hit on that for a sec. Like, what might not even be like positive, but that's cool. Like the grind, the tour. Now you guys are like moving and, the world is stoked. Do you feel like pressure? Do you feel any sort of like change in the energy now that you guys are fucking out for 6 weeks at a time and not going home? What have been some like, personal or interpersonal like changes from then to now?
Dude, the hyper asphyxiation, like I've been noticing, like, because it showed when we came back to play this set, like our first set on the boat this trip. Like when you, especially like playing improvised music, jam music, like you're not like, we all know, like you're not just playing the same notes, like obviously. So it's like when you have to focus on that and doing it right and wondering what is right about that, like, okay, that was cool, and now we're gonna play this show, but it feels different. Like, are we still doing it right? Like when you're like focusing so hard on it, you forget like how to do it almost.
Yeah,
it feels like
that head game is very strange because it's like not even. It's like silly to even be thinking right or wrong, right? It's like supposed to be expression, but you fall into that trap so easy.
Yeah, and like the pressure aspect of it, just like there's so much. Again, there's so many incredible bands in the scene, and it makes you wonder sometimes, like, what is it about us opposed to all these other monster acts that people, just like, what is it? Because I don't know what it is. I'm still beat on it. I don't know really what it is, if it's like an energy kind of thing or what, but there's always that little bit of pressure in the back of your mind, especially like, there's a good amount of hype around the band. So there is that pressure to like,
does that feel good?
At least.
Feel the hype? Like,
yeah.
Is that like wind at your back or is that adversarial?
It can go either way, just depending on the night, because you could have a really bad night and be like, wow, like, what's going on here? Like, why? And then everyone's telling you, oh, it's the sickest show I've ever seen. It's like, what? Like,
so you guys talk about that? Like, if you feel like a night wasn't it, you guys like chop it up and say like, man, we got to change this, or I didn't like that. Do you have that kind of like post-game analysis, or do you just turn the page, play the next gig?
Yeah, we definitely turn inward and, amongst ourselves and talk about how we can make things better all the time and, what we want out of a show. Sometimes it's better to just not talk about it, especially if it's like, I don't know, if sometimes when, I don't know, if we play like a great show that we all agree is great, like we won't really say anything about it. It's kind of...
Everyone was happy after, and it's just like, oh yeah, we never worry about, it's like,
it's weird too, because, I've had some nights where it's like, damn, I felt great. Like, I felt like confident and I was playing how I pretty much wanted to play. And, someone else in the group can feel completely opposite and feel like the show sucked and it blew. And so it's really strange to figure out what it is about each of us that like makes us perceive shows so differently amongst each other.
And logistically too, like in the middle of, 6 weeks out on the road, like, by week 4, things get very, very strange, and like people's headspaces go crazy. And this is around the board. And I refuse to believe that any touring group does not feel this way, And so trying to have a delicate conversation about the nature of the art that you're making is really can be an extremely difficult thing to do.
I imagine everybody's like personally connected. You like take offense, even though they're constructive conversation. It's hard not to internalize.
Yeah.
And then you're, 5 different parts, so I get that. But also, it speaks to the fact that people give a shit. You know, at the end of the day, they're not just like play the gig, go to the next one. It's like if you're in your head about it, it matters. I think one thing about this scene, this world, this community that doesn't affect other bands is, especially you guys, so you put all the shows out, like almost immediately.
Yeah.
So if you had a bad night, everyone, not just who was in the room is going to hear it, but your dedicated fans who download every show. Don't remind me. Yeah, well, I know, but that's like a high wire act in itself. Besides the fact that you're playing the gig, it's like they're going to live for eternity. But that's also part of what made you guys is that grassroots. People checking in night error. I mean, you guys are near the top and nuts, you know, like you get a lot of, you know, traction juxtaposed to the other groups, which means your fans are interested in every fucking show, which, you know, tip of the cap because thanks. People's time is valuable. And there's a lot of great bands, as you noted, on the boat and elsewhere. So for you guys to be steadily just continuing with those numbers and moving to bigger rooms, playing bigger tours, you know, even if you have bad nights, it doesn't seem like anybody's too concerned on the outside. They like what you guys do. My buddy Tyler from the Crazy Horse, he loves you, Barry. He's somebody I really respect. Somebody who's been around the block, seen a ton of shows, promoted and talent buyer a ton of shows. And after his experience with you guys, he sent me like a lengthy note. Before I even thought about interviewing. But that was part of the reason why I asked to interview. It was like, wow. Really made an impression on Tyler.
That's really cool.
That's what we had like, because you were on the heels of the fires in LA. You had cancellations. That's a tiny ass room, and I used to live there. That's how I know it. Tiny town. Those shows don't sell out that often, and you did 3 nights, first time in town. What are your reflections of Nevada City and that community and that like little experience there?
I personally, I loved the town. I thought it was so cool. Just like old, you know, just super, exactly. Super old vibes. And I've kind of somewhat recently started enjoying, like Western history, American history a little more. And, there's not a lot of it, which makes it easy to grasp. Yeah. But I really enjoyed the area. Everyone who came out was super nice, and everyone out there was super supportive as well. And
you guys getting a foothold on the West Coast. You think
I honestly, I'm surprised with like how quickly that has happened. And I honestly have to credit Ross because he had this idea first in Colorado to do a month-long residency, and that really worked for us in Colorado. Being able to hit off markets on the weekends and do your weekly gig. So then we moved the same thing to LA the year after. And we did a fucking dual residency, LA and San Diego, because just the one city wasn't enough. And then went way up the coast and east into Arizona and the off days, and it totally worked. Like it was an awesome strategy.
Yeah, you like saw the results like the next tour basically. Yeah. And now like with the Colorado, like we have a lot of friends. I mean, you're in the JAMZ scene, you have a lot of friends in Colorado, or I guess
they were the first to legalize weed.
Exactly. As just like the small room that you were talking about. Yeah, the Humboldt, the same kind of energy, right? Like that, like the weed.
Those towns were former mining towns, then turned into logging towns, and then cannabis towns. That's like the evolution of
America.
America, America.
so cool.
Yeah, I moved there at the end of my time in Philly. I grew up in Cherry Hill and Margate.
Oh, for
Yeah.
like Ross did.
Oh, yeah.
Our manager, he was telling us about real.
He's from where?
Cherry Hill.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we got it.
And he's hung out in Margate a bunch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, dude, that's what we do. Cherry Hill people, summer in Margate. It was fun. But yeah, I wanted to just track back to the West Coast thing, or just like the growth. As an East Coaster, like, I just love the energy in the rooms on the East Coast, New York, Philly. And as much as I love the ganja and the laissez-faire attitude of the West Coast, the rooms are not quite as ragey. How does that transmit to y'all on stage? Like playing to maybe a less energetic audience?
We've talked about it. Just the way the West Coast overall, just in general, is just mellower. Just by nature, the people out there is just, maybe this is untrue, but like just the vibe that I got, yeah, it just seemed a little more mellow and relaxed. And yeah, the East Coast is very Beast Coast.
Yeah, we are all strong East Coasters for sure, you know. So it was a bit of culture shock the first time we went out. Although we did that Felton show was
it was hot,
pretty raging.
Santa Cruz. Felton.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's a cool room for sure.
Yeah.
Say Candy and Ronnie have seen them yet. Oh, but they're so spaced out. Benny and the Jets. Whoa, they're so weird and wonderful. Oh, Benny, she's really keen. She's got electric boots, a mohair suit. You know I read it in a magazine. What? Whoa. Benny and the Jets.
You know, it feels like in like on the West Coast, there's like the audience is almost less of a factor because they're less energetic. So it's kind of like more of a blank slate walking in, as to where like on the East Coast.
Yeah, you got to max that energy.
Right.
That's very true.
And when we know people in the room, there's so much more pressure because like all your friends are like, yeah, and it's just like, oh, geez, like calm down.
Yeah, that's very true.
And on the West Coast, we're kind of just worried about ourselves. We don't have to worry about but except for Colorado, you kind of get that mix because there's everybody.
Yeah, Colorado's whoopee as fuck.
Before we ever went out to Colorado for the first time, everyone just stressed us like very hard to like, oh, like Colorado's a tough market to break. Like you got to hit Colorado. Like if you can't break Colorado, then I don't know. So like,
well, it's like oversaturated, but there's so many people with like the target demo that as long as you're good, people will come out to see you there. It's not quite the same in the Bay Area. You know, it's not.
Yeah, Bay Area has been very strange, you know, in general as of late.
You know, you just can't eat here, right?
Yeah.
What was the room?
Rickshaw.
Yeah, Rickshaw. Cool. Yeah. What was weird about it?
I mean, not even for us. I just mean as a city. Like, you know, it's started to change, you know, just before COVID, and then like COVID, like kind of like smacked the fuck out of San Francisco.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure. It's a weird place now. Like it's and kind of unsafe.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. It's not like, because you'd expect there to be like a scene there. I mean, I guess there is, but it also feels like a lot of people go there when they need something almost, you know, it's not just like a flourishing, like.
It's also like a wide area. So there's like Marini County and there's stuff up there. That's like where Terrapin Crossroads. So there was like a community there.
Yeah.
There's obviously the community in the ganja country, like.
You got Sweetwater up there too, right?
Sweetwater, yeah. Bobby owns it and it's a great room. But so people have a lot of options. You know, if you're playing in the Bay, you might also be playing in Marin and Nevada City and Santa Cruz. You know what I mean? So spread out. And yeah, San Francisco is definitely in a lot of ways lost its luster. I live in Oakland. We have definitely a smaller scene and not as like much options, but strong. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you ever having a conversation with your booking agent, float Oakland. I mean, the Kaiser's right there. Lots of dead history, lots of deadheads, but also has like a vibrant young people scene. They could probably tap into you guys as well.
The Fox used to be there, right?
Fox is still there.
Oh, it's still there?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's in my backyard. I walk there. So sometimes at night it's a little dicey to walk, but it's a great room.
I saw some of the first further shows out there with my dad, actually. We went out. I think
Yeah.
I was at the Fox. I guess that.
Yeah, totally. I loved Further. I miss that.
Further was great. One.
All right, so let's talk a little Dead.
Really gonna take me, sweet and sleepy, sing me sweet and sleepy, all the way back home. It's a foregone lullaby song many years ago. Mama, many worlds I've come since I first left home. Going home by the waterside. I will rest my bones, listen to the river sing sweet songs to rock my soul.
Because like I feel like initially a lot of bands kind of like ran from the Dead. They didn't want to be like such as Fish, but also other bands didn't want to just be like the Dead. And then post Fare Thee Well sort of like turned a corner, and it became like, okay, even encouraged to embrace it. So when I saw y'all's name, like whatever, 2 years ago, I just assumed Dead oriented or Dead like. And while the influence is clearly there, like you don't sound really anything like the Grateful Dead, but would you say that's your primary influence as a band? And how did any of y'all come to that music? Because I mean, I was the last generation to see Garcia. I was a teenager when he died. I saw a couple shows, saw 9 shows, but you guys are 20 years younger than me. So how were you brought to that? Like you said, your dad took you to Further. So are you children of Deadheads?
Pretty much. Absolutely. Like, yeah, Jim and I definitely are. Jeremy as well. His dad is a Deadhead, Fishhead.
Yeah.
Jeremy didn't get quite into the Dead.
Well, yeah, it was like, cause like it was, yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, my dad just didn't push it on me, but he's a musical person. He plays, and I don't know, he's just like, he has diverse taste as well. So like, he sent me a bunch of different directions. I started on the Rush, and then the Zappa, and then I kind of found my way through these guys really to the Dead. I grew up around it. So, and my dad saw Fish in '88, so it was always around. I remember hearing Foam in like the kitchen when I was younger, and like that definitely, like that one struck me. I don't know, it was kind of all over the map.
As a keyboardist, who's your guy in the Dead?
In the Dead, Brent. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love Brent. It took me a while to come around to Brent. When I was young, I thought like sounds were cheesy.
They are,
but I came around to it. No, yeah, I love their I mean,
his organ.
Nasty B3 sounds.
Yeah, so nasty that Garcia wouldn't let Vince play to remind him, which was upsetting.
Wow.
Yeah, my parents were like not into the Dead at all or anything, but when I was probably like 13 or so, me and my brother just started listening to the Dead and just like fell in love with it. And my dad was like a real like business guy, so I've always credited him. Like, he would be the kind of guy that you would think would be like, oh, you guys aren't listening to this like burnout music, but he like encouraged it and like saw how much we loved it and like appreciated it and were inspired and like encouraged us to listen to it, which I always thought was really cool of him.
Definitely. Yeah, my parents hated the Dead, and they thought they like lost me to the circus.
Well, it was funny too, because my dad like always was like, he started meeting like respectable, like professional, like wealthy Deadheads throughout, and he was like, I never realized like there was like a Deadhead with like a yacht like right down the street. I guess the bird since what the hell,
I mean, all those people grew up and eventually got a career, and they still love the Dead, but you get a mortgage.
Yeah, my dad started seeing the Dead in like 79.
Right on.
And I don't know how many shows he went to, but yeah, he was pretty much there till the end. And same with Jimmy's dad. Started seeing
Yeah, he started like
79 or 80.
84. Oh, really? Yeah, he started later, like end of 84. He saw like 200-300 something.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, at a young age, always hearing it. And my dad worked a lot too when I was younger, so he'd go away for business trips or he'd go away to see Phil. It was like the two things. All right, I'm going to see Phil. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah, he went with my dad. Remember they went on Phil's birthday or something, and I think it was in Oregon, Portland.
Causing such a stir one time. He was like leaving. I was like freaking out, trying to get him not to leave.
Yeah.
You had a hard out soon, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. We can wrap it up. I don't want to cost you anything.
I don't want to leave. I'm having a good time. My mom liked Touch of Grey, and my dad liked truckin', and that was my extent of the knowledge. And I really knew nothing about the culture or anything or the music. I myself found, my first introduction to the scene, I found Fish first.
How does that land on your plate?
Well, I just heard some songs that I wanted to learn on guitar because I was learning guitar that struck a chord with me. And then from I just like heard Stash on iTunes, and I was like, that's cool, and learned it, and then just started researching a bunch, and then I started meeting a bunch of people who were like, oh, if you like this, you gotta like the Dead. I was like, oh, okay. And I got into it really hard, really quickly, like fell in love with the Grateful Dead, and everything about it. And and then, I thought I knew a lot, and then I didn't until like I met these guys, and now I know a little more.
I mean, nobody ever gets to the end of the book.
Yeah.
The bottomless well. Yeah, when you think you heard everything Garcia ever touched.
Yeah, as we're traveling all around the country now, we meet people that unlock more lore and stories for us all the time. That's really cool. And recently we got to play some instruments of Jerry and Phil's that was really special. And you hear all these stories, the history of the songs that were written on them, and just hearing people's stories. It's like this never-ending.
Like, would you play the Wolf?
We'll play the two Travis Beams.
Okay.
Jerry's
TB 500, number 11 and number 12. Jerry played number 12 live. It was Ass Grass gas sticker. There was another one that he had. They didn't play live. Same model, little silver heart sticker on the bottom. They got to play those two. They also got to play Rory Gallagher's.
It would be the pretzel guitar,
the pretzel, and Phil's Mission Control live, which was crazy.
Then the Cactus Smith. Yeah. Oh my God. He's from Without a Net. He's from Without a Net. Yeah. That was like my favorite face I ever touched. Yeah. Sam got to perform the whole show with it. Yeah.
Where did this take place?
That was at that was Winston's. And then we played the Belly Up the night before, and I did the Mission Control for the whole show.
Got my dad up for a tune on the Mission.
So cool.
Oh, it was so cool. It was really cool.
Help on the way. Well, I know that there's something got you today.
I really like how this all takes shape. It's like authentic and genuine, like the family lineage, and then also like putting the lyric in the name of the band just sort of like sends the bat signal out. But then when people come to see you, not a carbon copy of the Dead, but you are genuine next generation Deadheads, sort of, reimagining music with the same modus operandi improvisationally, but your own thing. And that's what I was most impressed about last night was like, there was like an original like stamp on the tunes. Like, and I'm not going to speak negatively of other bands, but I do find some of the jam stuff to be homogenized are very similar.
Yeah.
And you guys have your own voice. You have like big balls.
I've got big balls. I've got big balls.
That was one thing when Tyler's like, what'd you think? And I was, the first thing I was like, these dudes have balls and juice. It was a little hype.
Wow.
And you're honest,
5 virile young men.
I mean,
It was maybe a bad euphemism, but it was more just like, it was not timid. You didn't like pussyfoot around. It's rock and roll. And that makes sense. It's Jersey. At Asbury Park, there's an attitude inherent in that saltwater air, right? That just seeps into y'all. So it comes out, and then to see the way the fans respond, you know, that was another really cool thing, was to see how many people knew your songs, how many people just like slack-jawed gazing at the stage in awe. You know what I mean? That's like a mark of impressive fans, especially in the improv world, you know, where people need to be entertained, you know, and the jamming is at the forefront. So yeah, I was super impressed with that. And the crowd's like embrace of the music, you know. I think that speaks volumes. I know you got to go, so let's just talk about what's next as far as recording, as far as touring, goals, anything you guys are stoked for.
A break.
Yeah.
Right after this jam cruise.
Well, how long's the break?
A month with some dates in there.
we started working on the basics for our next album when? California.
April of last year, April.
And so, a couple months, I think like March, right? We're going to get hopefully everything else done, wrapped up, ready to go.
Yeah, we should have all the overdubs pretty much good.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to get it out because I was talking with Cam from Psychedelics, and he was, because they got a record, right? Yeah, were you there too? Were you talking to?
I was talking to their keyboard player, I forget.
Oh yeah.
He was telling me they have I think a single coming out, like.
Yeah, they're putting out a couple singles and an album, and like I had never seen them before. I'm excited to hear how that album sounds.
Where are they from? I'm going to download that.
Charleston. Yeah, like,
oh, cool. I was impressed with them too.
Yeah,
I like how y'all are connecting with them.
Hell yeah, and they're great because they're they're younger than us even. Like they're all monster players and like killer stuff. Really cool.
And fucking really, really cool guys.
Yeah, killer dude.
We've each gotten to meet a couple of them, and they're just super cool, humble, and like I was saying before, they're also like a couple of them caught our pool deck set the other night, and they seem to enjoy it, which really meant a lot to me coming from guys who can play like the way they do, which is really, really, really cool.
I mean, that's the camaraderie I'm talking about. Like a lot of these bands are competitive oriented out there, so to make a connection with your peers, especially when they don't always sound anything like you, that's even cooler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned about the record, so you got one in the pipeline?
Yeah, and coming. It's coming. We don't know when. It's gonna fucking rock.
He does writing on the road, like white tablet.
Yeah, but
it's tough. It's tough.
I feel like this tour was extra tough for us too. So yeah,
we got like a bunch of new songs, like mostly finished this tour, which was cool, and like debuted some stuff and like tightened it up. But all the stuff on this record will not be like new stuff. We're hoping that like our next record will be something like that, maybe like
Yeah,
but
fresh, brand new material.
Yeah, this is material that the current record that you performed live first, introduced it to the community, and then came the studio.
Yeah,
you went to the inverse. Record, and then
so we've never done that way. It's always, and that's like typical of because with the jam band shit, like the tour comes first. You know what I mean? And so you play these songs a million times, and it works because you play a million times, and you go into the studio and you get a good take pretty quick.
Yeah, and you get to like see like the people's reaction to them too. Yeah, I feel like is like valuable.
And it's a different perspective too to approach these tunes from like the more fine art perspective as opposed to like live art, right? Like sitting with something and sitting on something, making it like exactly what it should be, you know? Looking at things is a different perspective.
That's interesting what you said about like the process, like seeing the reaction of the fans and then having that affect the writing. That's something that really only happens in this community because the tour comes first, as you mentioned, and you can kind of like say, oh, wow, people really like that part. We should do 8 more bars.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely taken like bass lines from certain jams and kind of made like songs out of them. Yeah. That's a cool thing that happens.
Right on. I want to be sensitive to your time. Just want to ask, like, what's the bait gig this summer? Like, in the pipeline, like, the prize were you working towards now?
Bonnaroo is one of them.
Yeah.
Well, let's make sure they're already announced before we. That's else.
All right. So if there's the Stone Summer Stage for a headlining gig, a couple other cool festivals, the Old Good Festival, and we're doing the Goose. I forget Mexico. Yeah. Called El Gonzo. El Gonzo. Yeah.
That's
right. That'll be fun.
Right on. I mean, Bonnaroo and the summer stage headliner, equal parts huge. One hometown huge, one macro huge. Yes, indeedy. Yeah, want to just say thank you to Dogs in a Pile, all the boys, for that just awesome conversation. I was really stoked to sit down and get the 411 and the download on what the fuss is about. And I think we got a good look at that in that conversation. So thanks to Jeremy and Brian and Joey and Jimmy, Sam. Look forward to seeing what's next for the Dogs. A lot has taken place just in the interim since we had that conversation in February and now. So, wishing them the best. And I had to put on some Bruce for the crossover for a few reasons. Obviously, we talked Bruce with the boys, and we talked about my man Jason, who's coming right up. But today got the news that D'Angelo canceled his appearance in Philly at the Roots Picnic. It's his first show in nearly a decade, and I needed some feel-good music, something for my soul in this moment, because I'm trying to stay pumped, recording the pod. It's not y'all's problem. Listen to this. I got a bad desire. Oh, I'm on fire. Tell me now, baby, is it good to you? And can you do the things that I do? I can take you higher. Oh, I'm on fire. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So I was feeling a little bit down getting that news. Alicia and I were flying across the country, Philly, from Oakland, just to see D'Angelo perform together. I've seen him numerous times, or 3 times, never with my beloved. So that was something super special and sacred back in the home city, and it's not happening.
So I wanted to put on something in the moment that would make me feel a little better. And this reminds me of when Mark Farina played this edit of Bruce Springsteen's I'm on Fire at Sunset at Swanee, Resonate 2023 at Sunset on the porch stage. Such a beautiful moment in our sacred place, Spirit of Swanee Music Park. So I'll drop this link to the Hannell, Hanll, out of Brooklyn. That's a producer DJ who made this version of I'm on Fire. I'll put that in the show notes. And we're going to cross over to my man, J.A., my best friend since 5th grade. He's been on the show more than anybody else. And we always talk about summer concert tours. We talk about pop culture. We had to actually recut part of this because we speculated on GD60 because the San Francisco mayor had let it slip. And then literally the next morning came the announcement of GD60 in San Fran. So we did like the emergency pod update. And I'm actually surgically removing the part about D'Angelo, what ifs, and that particular segment, which is unfortunate, but it ain't happening. So, yeah, Jason Abrams, he's a music and pop culture aficionado, encyclopedia, also pro wrestling. And like I said, one of my dearest friends in this life on the first hand of fingers, my boy since we met in the press box of a Kiss show in 89. Hot in the Shade tour. Maybe it was 90. I was in 5th grade. Turns out he lived like 4 blocks away. And we've been thick as thieves ever since. And I love having J.A. on the show. And you're about to hear why for the umpteenth time. Summer tours, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, GD60. We're talking about all the things. Episode 88 of the Upful LIFE podcast. You're hearing Bruce Springsteen, I'm on Fire, the Hannell edit from 6 years ago. Shout out Dogs in a Pile. Fucking love those dudes. Here comes J.A. Yes, indeedy. All right. Well, like we always do about this time of year, I'm joined on a lovely afternoon, Tuesday, midday here in Oakland, almost sunset back home in Philadelphia, the one, the only, my oldest friend, Jason Abrams. Welcome back, J.A.
I can't believe how many times we've been doing this. It's got to be 3-4 years now.
Longer. The pod is longer. The pod is 7 years old. I feel like you were on the first year, so you probably
so 7 years we've been going through the summer concert season.
Well, remember there was the pandemic, so we didn't do 7 years because there weren't concert seasons for 2 years. But I would say this is probably your 6th or 7th appearance.
It's a great time. I love doing it. I always look forward to doing it. So thank you for having me. It's always fun to talk about the big summer concert series. You and I love concerts in general, but in the summer they seem to get a lot more emphasis.
I would agree. It is the concert season.
But we're also going to talk a little Rock and Roll Hall of Fame real quick because one of our mutual favorite bands, Phish, was on the ballot for the first time this year. And there's always debate about bands, whether they should be in or not in, and that's the fun of it. There definitely deserves to be a place, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to encompass all this music for 250 years from now, and no one who's a part of anything that you and I are a part of right now, they can look back and feel and touch and see the Led Zeppelins, the Rolling Stones, the Michael Jacksons, the Princes, and get a better understanding of what they were all about.
Yeah, I have mixed emotions about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We've actually done, I think, the two conversations on the pod over the years about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I always come back to the fact that it's not legitimate to me for a variety of reasons. Obviously, the process is real political, but also the Meters are not in there. Iron Maiden's not in there. We can't be so I need to just state that at the top of every conversation that this is more just for the fun and the what ifs. And the institution itself is severely lacking on so many levels that it's almost an embarrassment. But at the same time, people got really excited about Phish. They obviously won the fan vote, huge. And I would suggest, unlike some fan bases, this was not like rigged or they were not like bots. just
No,
Fish fans mobilized for months.
And they broke Dave Matthews' record. I think the year before, Dave Matthews had the most ever fan votes. And I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame knew what they were getting themselves into. They probably knew Fish was going to win. Fish's fans are always on the computer.
Right. One of the first online bands.
They probably wanted to get that little, like, excitement on the internet about.
Oh, so you're saying it was a PR move that they were never really going to be in consideration, but they knew it would move the needle in like the online rock public. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, look how it played out. I mean, they literally broke the fan vote. They beat the all-time fan record. So if there's ever a time and place to let the fans have their chance, it would be when they break the record. So they kind of knew what they were getting themselves into. Fish will get in. And you know what? The fan base of Fish now will be paying attention to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from here on in.
Hey, that is a great take. A couple of takes there, J.A. That's why I have you on the show. That's why I've been learning from you for most of my life. And I never really considered that. If anything, I thought that they were going to acquiesce and say, wow, like Fish fans clearly you want this to happen. And so I honestly thought that they were going to get in. Whether they deserve it or not, I mean, the accolades are what they are in terms of what they've proven as an independent entity for so many years. And at the same time, when you hold their the traditional categorizations of like whether it's platinum albums or Grammys or stadium tours or whatever, they don't have any of that. But what they do have is they created, Festival Nation, independent touring entities, like, the culture within the culture, what they did from Big Cypress to all their festivals and everything that culturally that's been born out of that. I mean, there's a lot of reasons they should be in, but they don't fit into that squared circle that is pop rock universe.
Only Bob Backlund, Bruno Sammartino, and Billy Joel have sold out Madison Square Garden more times than Fish. I think on that alone, just like I said, like Kiss was, before Fish, Kiss was probably the joke amongst the critics and voters, like the kick around, so to speak. And you know what? Whether you like Kiss or not, just what they did for merchandise and the touring act and what bands have now developed from what Kiss just, the blueprint they gave everybody, they should be in just on that.
Were they in before they put the makeup back on or no?
No, I think I got put in a couple years ago. Like nothing crazy.
They put the makeup back on in '96. I
know you don't want to spend too much time on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I've said this before. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, what also they need to do is they need to add some things. Like there should be like the Grateful Dead fans, the Deadheads should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like Toads in New Haven, Connecticut, that club, that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Maybe Jazz Fest maybe is like one of the greatest festivals, and it's like stuff like that should be also have like its little recognition in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, side pieces, so to speak. The WWE Hall of Fame just added a new category this year where they're putting matches in the Hall of Fame. Bret Hart versus Steve Austin was the first match, so I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should learn from that, and it'll bring more interest to it. The Grateful Dead fans, and millions of other like little intricates and sub Reddit, so to speak, of the music world should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I mean, I think that's a pretty fantastic idea on its face, like how they would decide or quote unquote vote them in or whatever. The premise of the whole thing would have to kind of adjust, but I think that's going to happen anyway over time. Just this sort of tired old, graduating class thing.
You had on the show, Jay Blasberg, like a guy like that who's captured rock and roll for 4 decades, and not only just rock and roll, like the greatest musicians in the world, Bruce Springsteen, Pearl Jam, the Grateful Dead. Like a guy like that should have a spot in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, his pictures from the free show, the U2, where they filmed the video, Streets Have No Name. That's like some of the most legendary shit ever. Shout out Jay Blakesburg. I was going to say, though.
So real quick, yeah, the 5 people got in. Fish was not one of them.
All right, reel them off.
Joe Cocker, Bad Company, A Man Who Had Dinner at My House, Chubby Checker, Cyndi Lauper, Outkast, Soundgarden, and here's the one I kind of, the White Stripes.
Yeah, the White Stripes is ridiculous. There were 5 minutes. If anything, they induct Jack White for his whole career if they're going to do that. But the White and I just think, they're just trying to check boxes. Love Outkast to death. Umpteen more hip-hop cats need to get in before them. Just chronologically speaking, if not impact-wise. And no slight to Cass. I love Cass. Everybody knows I love Cass. And I'm a proponent of having hip-hop in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because rock and roll is just basically Black American music. You know what I'm saying? And
rock and roll is an umbrella. It's an attitude. It's pop music.
Cyndi Lauper. I mean, I love Cyndi Lauper, True Colors and shit. Girls just want to have fun. But really, I mean, come on. That seems a little. And I mean, Soundgarden, I think, is probably the most solid choice. And they're like debut albums like 88. So they're still, a more on the like from our lifetime, not before us. Maybe we have to just start rationalizing that the bands of our youth are now classic rock, the Rage Against the Machines, the Soundgardens, etc. But it's crazy when you think about it. Is Alice in Chains ever up or close?
I don't think so.
Why is Soundgarden ahead of them?
You have to talk to Frick and Tom Morello. The one that shocked me the most was Oasis. They didn't get in this year. They were on the ballot, and Joy Division.
Joy Division should get in. Oh, fuck Oasis. But at least I would put Oasis ahead of the White Stripes.
Well, I mean, it's their year. I just thought because, it's like, it's their year. It's kind of rigged a little bit like the NBA.
Yeah, well, like the NBA. Oh, man, you're fucking great. Before we get into the summer tours, you mentioned a moment ago Jazz Fest. And, it just came off my 21st Jazz Fest. I know you've been to Jazz Fest.
It's insane. So your Jazz Fest ticket stub is old enough to drink.
Yes, that is true. I said that a few times. I've been to Jazz Fest enough times to drink. This year was fantastic. And we're talking about like icons, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame types. You had Fogerty, you had Pearl Jam, Dave Matthews Band, Santana. Lenny's not in yet, but he will get in. It was a pretty huge year on the big stage, and of course all the small stuff. I got an article coming out this week that talks all about the nighttime stuff. But Jazz Fest to me, as these tours get, proceedingly more expensive and kind of just away from the experience that I seek, Jazz Fest still delivers, whether you're at the fairgrounds or in the clubs. I feel like I'll be going, no matter what's going on in music, I'll be going down there for the rest of the time. And, a lot of big tours every summer. And I'm curious because you live in Philly and you're kind of more tapped into the mainstream as me. So what is hot in summer 2025?
Well, also, I was flipping through YouTube the other day. Like, I'll just type in Jazz Fest 2025, and I did not realize Cheap Trick played.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I watched it. It was insane.
Gentilly stage. Yep. But they don't have dude on drums anymore. Bud.
No, Bunny Carlos has been out of the band for a long time. We one time cranked Tommy Lee and pretended we were Bunny Carlos, and he fell for the whole gig.
That's great. Speaking of Tommy Lee, a lot of drama. He and the wife split up. Wife got catfished by a fake Ronnie Radke page. Then she told her publicist she broke up with him because he's drinking again. But what really happened, or apparently what part of it was, she got catfished. She was like about to have an affair with Ronnie Radke, but it was a catfish. And then Tommy had found, and then the dude that screenshotted everything to Tommy, and then he blew a gasket.
Hey, what's up? I'm Tommy Lee. Yeah, that guy.
Motley residency, though. Motley rescheduled Motley residency in Vegas. I mean, it's a joke at this point.
John 5's doing some solo dates too, I saw.
You see, he plays Home Sweet Home on guitar in the solo band.
I mean, he's in Motley Crue now.
It's crazy. All right. Well, that's not anything we really need to spend a bunch of time on. Although I have been watching some Karabi era Crue videos because I listened to his book the past few weeks. It's very good. The Motley replacement singer, John Karabi. Best vocals they ever had. Anyway, what do you got for this summer?
So this summer, AC/DC still out on the road. Only one original member, though.
Really?
Brian Johnson. Yeah, I mean, Brian Johnson's in the band, but he's not an original member.
Right. So no Phil Rudd on drums, no Cliff Williams on bass.
No, the bass player is the guy who filled in for Jane's Addiction and some other bands, and then they have.
You mean the guy? You mean Martin Lenoble?
Yeah, and then the guitar player is a young cousin.
Oh, he's okay.
Yeah, he came into the band a couple years ago.
And for listeners out there, Jason is not talking about whether this man is age. It's Angus and Malcolm Young of AC/DC cousin, who's probably
AC/DC doesn't recognize as a brothers band. Like the Oasises and the Black Crows of the world. No, people don't realize that it wasn't a brother band. But family bands.
I saw a video the other day of that. I didn't know who was in the band or what, but I noticed Brian was in the band and Angus was in the band. I know Malcolm passed away. They were crushing just the other day. A Thunderstruck video I saw. I was like, wow. Whether I don't know if it's all legit or they're using tracks or what, but
no tracks there. Angus is amazing. That's why he loves going out there and doing his best Chuck Berry impression. He's been doing it his whole life. It's an incredible show.
So you gonna go?
The closest it played here was Landover, Maryland. So maybe they'll come back and do the arenas.
Why? They filmed the Money Talks video at the Spectrum. Why? Why would they not play Philly?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe we'll get it on the second go around. They didn't play New York. B and C markets. Beyonce out on the road doing stadiums this summer.
Is she doing which Philly stadium?
She's playing with the Eagles, the Lincoln Financial.
All right. And one night, multiple night stands?
One night. Big talk right now on Twitter. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band are on the road overseas. Yeah, he's doing his Trump gimmick, and Trump wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, I obviously thought of you as soon as that happened. So when you say Trump gimmick, are you saying he's saying like a canned speech every night about how?
Yeah, he does a same speech.
Okay.
About how he wrote these songs about a certain country and land, and now that certain country and land is starting to look different, and then goes into our dear leader.
They are persecuting people for using their right to free speech and voicing their dissent. They're abandoning our great allies and siding with dictators.
Fuck yeah, Bruce. We talk, people be hearing this on the back end of a conversation I had with the boys from Dogs in a Pile. And we talked a bit of Bruce, and I actually talked about you and the way you've been a fan and a historian and somebody who's, understands Bruce on a profound level. And, I gotta say, I really appreciate his voice. I really appreciate who he is as a guy. I appreciate, obviously, his music, not on the same level as you or even close, but all of our buddies have really gravitated to that man's music, his catalog. And we often say he's like not the man. He's not like the first person character in his songs necessarily, but he's really tapped into a version of America that we all would like to believe. And for him to actually go kayfabe and pull the curtain back even if it's just overseas. I mean, it speaks a lot to who he is, you know. Plus, they fucked with him when they did bust him for the DUI on some bullshit just because of politics. Like they've been fucking with him for years.
Yeah, the overseas thing, like people say, like oh, he did it overseas. I mean, the tour is overseas right now. There's no doubt in my mind if that tour was in America. That's what he puts together a show, and that's why he's going to do the same exact speech every night. He reads it off a teleprompter, but it's part of the show. It's like his feeling, his vibe. Anyone who's been seeing Bruce Springsteen over the last 4 decades knows that he always tells a story during the show, knows that it's always the same story, and it's part of the songs all together at one. It really, is part of the show.
I think that's where Trey got the Gamehenge narration from.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little different.
All right. Well, I mean, I hope that, honestly, I pray for Bruce, man. He's like,
Yeah, no, he's the man, and he'll be fine. Bunch of wackos out there. But one of the crazy things that has been breaking music and re-breaking music again is TikTok, and the Deftones are playing hockey arenas this summer. They've never played hockey arenas in their life. They've always played like the clubs and etc. And they were always known as like the better musical band of their contemporaries at the time, of the NU metal bands, so to speak. And it's just great to see the Deftones really getting their flowers,
All right, you did it twice. I gotta be that guy. It's Deftones, not the Deftones.
Yeah, true.
All right, no, just saying. That's it. They played with the first. It was 60,000 people sold out at Golden Gate Park. System of a Down was a headliner. Deftones and Mars Volta, who had just come back at that time, played a set of material no one ever heard before. But I knew that day, I was like, wow, people are like crazy for Deftones. But you're claiming that the TikTok app culture boosted them into arenas?
Amongst other bands, Limp Bizkit is bigger now than they've ever been in their life.
Stop. Not bigger than Woodstock 99. Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, they're playing stadiums overseas. They sold out Camden last year. That's 30,000 people. That's the biggest show they've ever played in Philadelphia.
What is it about TikTok? What's happening on the app?
Well, let's be honest. For this day and age, Limp Bizkit is the perfect band. I mean, it's just hardcore riffs, dumb lyrics. I mean, it's so dumb, for these young kids that are dumb as fuck nowadays on TikTok. Limp Bizkit could be a better band. And you got a guy who dresses up in a different costume every show.
And Durst does too.
Well, yeah, exactly. He picked up on it now recently. Yes.
Durst get-ups are crazy.
Yeah. He dresses up as an old man. He dresses up as himself.
He's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I got a soft spot for $3 bill and for Significant Other, but fuck that. Deftones, on the other hand, rest in peace, Chi Chang. Deftones have like a respectable career, respectable musical arc, and they deserve their flowers.
They came out with the Corns and what have you of the world, but everyone who was into that music at the time always thought the Deftones was like the more solid musical band, had more,
integrity. More integrity. I watched an interesting documentary about them on YouTube just the other day. I'll send it over to you. Let's backtrack on to the Beyonce real quick. Do you think that is the biggest tour of the summer? Is Beyonce's tour the biggest tour?
Well, you know what? It might be one of the next two. So also playing stadiums this summer is Kendrick Lamar and SZA. And so that was in town 2 weeks ago during Mother's Day. And, they'll build a stadium show and they'll try and bring 2 stadium shows in, so, to cut the costs. So the night after, the night after, I think, was George Strait and Chris Stapleton.
Talk about different universes.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone bought packs to both.
I would be interested in the actual number of people that purchased tickets to both of those. They came up for the weekend, hit both shows. SZA Kendrick is not as big a tour as Beyonce. That's all I'm saying. Kendrick's is not quite on the level of Beyonce.
Well, this is his first time doing stadiums. Like, right now he's hotter than he's ever been. So, like, 2025 Kendrick might be hotter than 2025 Beyonce, but Beyonce's been playing stadiums, basically her whole career. I would say those are probably and then you got Post Malone on doing stadiums, but I don't think that's that big of a deal.
I can't believe that does stadiums. But Post Malone says 60,000 people going to see Post Malone. Like I said, it mostly mime lip sync is just crazy to me. It's not like he's Taylor Swift where there's dance routines and all kinds of like theatrical stuff. It's, he's just crushing Bud Lights in like flannels and cowboy boots.
And face tattoos.
Yeah, and dude, forget it. All right.
There's just not right now. There's not the greatest music in the world is being produced, or at least popular. There's great bands like hitting the clubs right now. I went to Emil and the Sniffers the other night. That girl's an absolute superstar. So there still are great rock bands.
Metallica, where are you at with, we both love Metallica. We've both seen a ton of Metallica. I have not seen them on the Black and Yellow tour. I don't even think I've listened to that album more than a couple times. But where are you at on Metallica right now?
I think the album's called like 72, right?
72 seasons, yeah. Anyway, I have not seen the current Metallica tour. I've watched a bunch of it on YouTube and such. They're doing different sets, blah, blah, blah. Limp Bizkit opening, I don't know. That doesn't interest me.
Suicidal Tendencies, Pantera.
So, okay, there's a time where like Pantera Metallica is a dream bill. But now you got really partial Terra, and Metallica, I don't know. Metallica just seems like, I don't know, just safe. It's like not what it used to be.
Well, I can tell by your reaction earlier when this band came up, but it is the biggest tour of the summer. It is the most anticipated tour, the Oasis Brothers.
Okay, I'll give you that. It's the most anticipated. They were huge. They had drama.
We're getting hot.
They had huge, but then they like had that one album that took forever and flopped, and then they just sort of.
Hypocrisy?
No. It didn't take that long. No, it was like the Be Here Now or something like that. The album after the album. I'm just saying, like, they never had a catalog that resonated with me. Like, obviously, my bands from that era, Black Crowes, Blind Melon, etc. I don't have the appeal of Oasis. I was shocked they did the numbers they did out the gates. And I'll be interested if they can get along to make it to the end.
Well, $10 million a night, they'll get along. Or $7 or $8 million. They're playing stadiums at a huge high ticket prices. They're getting paid a lot of money. They held out just enough time. And one of my friends, who works in the business, he made a great point. He was like, they didn't fucking sell out and like sell a show to Coachella before they went on the road. They didn't go like, they didn't do that safe move like where, you play Lollapalooza and then you go, they're fucking going out. They're doing their tour. The thing about Oasis for me, they were probably the last band of like the Kurt Loder era, like the band that he would like cover from beginning to end, and what a great interviews they were. What the sound bites, the way they treated the press, the way they treated each other, that was, if not more popular than the music.
Yeah, the shtick and that stuff worked, whether you like them or not. I agree. Their personalities were well known. All right. And you just teed me up all right, because we're rounding third and I want to wrap this up. You just teed me up with the Kurt Loder, because just the other day I saw a highlight reel on YouTube, all the Kurt Loder Axl interactions where he like hops in the limo with him in St. Louis after he's arrested.
What do they do when they put you in jail? Did you have a cell by yourself, or were there other people? Did you get to talk to any other like inmates or anything?
No, I basically spent my time writing autographs for cops and talking with them about rock and roll. I met all these really cool cops that were telling me all about when they went to Woodstock and everything. It was great. New York cops are the best.
Then he's in his backyard and Axl's got the red hair down. He's wearing like a denim button down. They're sitting out back. He's talking about Steven Adler was with dangerous people outside of the band. He chose his drugs over us. Like just these great moments where Kurt Loder gets Axl to say just the most incredible shit that like, a lawyer would tell him never to fucking say.
Well, how come Steven left the band at this critical juncture?
He didn't leave the band.
Or how come you and
Steven was fired? We gave him every ultimatum. We tried working with other drummers. We had Steven sign a contract saying if he went back to drugs, then he was out. He couldn't leave his drugs. Other things have happened involved with Steven that Steven is basically someone I used to know. It makes me feel bad, but there's other things beside the band that he was involved in with his drugs that have been very dangerous and scary, and I want nothing to do with him.
Is that what you were talking about when you were open for the Rolling Stones in LA last year? Is that somebody in this band has been dancing with Mr. Brownstone, essentially?
No, there was majority of the band was at that time, or too much alcohol, or too much something.
And that brings me to GNR. We've talked about GNR many times on the show. I actually got feedback over the time, like, wow, you guys are really into guns. It's like, yeah, especially you, but I am too. I mean, I go back to those days in the 80s. They have a new drummer. I have to say, I watched his clips from his first few shows, like Mumbai and Korea. He's already playing with more feel than Sorum or Frank ever did. Like 4 gigs in. So much so that he fucks up a few times, but that's okay because he's got swing. He like cares. He's not a metronome. He's like a fucking human. So I like the upgraded drums, but bro, man, some cat has been uploading these like mid 80s, late 80s full shows, like 4K, not 4K, but like rehabilitated VHSs of Axl in the glory days with teased hair and Izzy and Steven. And then you put on a 2025 show, and I didn't realize that they call him Mickey, like Mickey Mouse in the subreddit in guns. It's
not nice.
It's not nice, but dude, we gotta keep it a buck.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. We got everything you want. And we know the days we are. Whatever you need. We got the money.
It's really it's almost impossible. Like you're like waiting for it, waiting for him to sing, and then when he finally fucking sings. I mean, where are you at with that? Because you've always been a hardcore Axl guy, but you got to keep it a buck. He can't fucking sing.
For 2.5 hours, he can't do it. No.
That's what you said last time on the show. It's like, oh, shorten the show, he'll be fine. By Brownstone, song 3, he's Mickey.
Yeah, no, he's Mickey sometimes right from out of the gate. It's a shame. You almost... Because, like, Duff still does interviews. Duff goes out on the road. I mean, I guess Slash does a lot of interviews, too, but he, very rarely talks guns. Duff talks Axl openly, and he never says anything about it. I mean, I guess, what are you going to say? I don't know. I'm curious to know what their opinions would be.
Their opinions are zeros. Their opinions are, I mean, they were out, like, dude, let's be honest, Duff and Slash would be playing 2/3 full Electric Factories for the rest of time. Okay? At least Axl was... Right, but I think Axl, and I loved the Axl Rose Guns N' Roses, as did you. And we saw him play small rooms like you saw him at the factory.
And I'm going back now to appreciate a lot of Slash stuff that he was doing, in his post Guns N' Roses career.
It's crazy that Slash was probably the guy you thought would die. destroyed himself, had like 3 separate Junkie eras, like 80s era, 90s era, then OxyContin era. So 3 separate Junkie eras. He's incredible shape. He's playing incredible. No, well, Duff is his own thing. I'm talking Slash.
Slash was like, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, did the doctors say like that?
Yeah, they had to take his
hair's
arms
done.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, like they almost had a date for his.
Yeah. He was on his deathbed too, right? But I mean, and Duff, you see up there, he's into martial arts. He looks like he's in incredible physical shape, but he's playing, punk rock or guns bass lines. Slash is a virtuoso. He looks better than he did in the 80s, and he plays better than he did. It's unbelievable. The reason that it still works is frankly Slash. But Slash needs Axl, otherwise he'd be playing for 3,000 people.
No, totally.
But Axl's Mickey. That's what gets me back to my point. It's like he needs Axl, but is it just the fact that he's on stage? Because it's not his vocals anymore.
Next up is John Herbert with Sweet Child of Mine.
She got a smile and it seems to me it might be the childhood memories.
Axl's been like this for a long time. It's not going to get any better. But, hey, look at John Bon Jovi. Like how he's chomping at the bit to go on the road. So there's the other point of view. He's not comfortable taking his soft voice on the road.
Well, let's be honest. There was an outrage at Bon Jovi last go.
It was outrage for guns, dude. This Mickey Mouse thing. I guess you just caught on, but it's been going.
No, Jason. The last time we talked guns, we talked Axl's voice, and you said instead of 2.5 hours, play 75 minutes. And
because I'm trying to be nice. I don't want to say anything rude.
So I'm not just figuring out Axl sucks. What I'm saying is like now he completes. I think you could say he sucks.
He's still. It's not, and it's also like
What year was he AC/DC? What year when did he sing for AC/DC? Because he sounded amazing on that tour. Like 16, 17? Because let's be honest, that's the last time he really sounded like a bad motherfucker.
And you know what? It's weird because like the Mickey Mouse shit was going on before that in Guns N' Roses.
Just the one tour, just that 1 or 2 tours, and then he had the comeback tour. I want to say 2012. People were saying he sounded great again, and then the AC/DC shit. He might have 16. Okay, so you're right, close to 10 years. So he destroyed his shit. There's
definitely something going on in the last 10 years, but there's definitely times like I said so it's funny. I texted our friend like a week or two ago. I guess 2016. I wrote we're the last great gun shows. Those were the last 3 garden shows.
That was not in this lifetime. Like first go around. I saw that at where the
second go around, time.
I saw that where the SF Giants play baseball here, and that was a great show. And it was 2.5 hours.
Yeah, So here it played Giant Stadium, then it came back and did 3 nights in the Garden.
Where you at on Zach Starkey, Roger Daltrey?
Where are they at?
That would be the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, no, it's sick.
He's fired. He's not fired. He's fired again.
Well, first of all, a couple years ago when they gave him the electronic kit, you know about this?
No.
He doesn't even go. Oh, wait now go watch the YouTube of the newest shows. He's not even allowed to play a real kit. He plays an electronic kit on stage.
Because of volume for Roger?
Just him hitting the drums is too loud for these guys. Remember like a few years ago when Roger was telling the people not to smoke marijuana?
Yeah, don't blow the weed near him. You remember who got his back, who chimed in the press and said, I agree? Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden also tweets the weed.
It makes 100% sense, at least with him, because he's never smoked weed in his life.
Right.
Right?
I mean, he's definitely sober as fuck, yeah.
And like now he's got all these dudes, like 20,000 people just blowing weed to his face. So it makes sense with him. That guy, they got Mother Nature, they sing songs about marijuana.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and, they've done every drug in the book. But I just found it hilarious that they, like, canned Starkey, and then people were upset, so they brought him back. And then before they even played again, he's out. And it's an epidemic, bro. Josh Freese, Humphreys McGee drummer, Primus drummer.
Yeah, drummers are going.
I mean,
what's the movie?
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap.
Now, during the Flower People period, who was your drummer? Stumpy's replacement, Peter James Bond. He also died in mysterious circumstances. We were playing a festival, jazz blues festival. Where was that?
Well, blues jazz, really.
Blues jazz festival.
It was in the Isle of Lucy.
The Isle of Lucy.
Isle of
Jazz
Lucy.
and Blues Festival.
And it was tragic, really. He exploded on stage.
Just like that. He just went up.
He just was like a flash of green light, and that was it. Nothing was left.
Look at his face.
Well, there was.
It's true.
All of the days we stopped to decide where we should go. We just ride. From all the broken eyes we saw through in dreams.
All right. Well, this is just one day later. We actually had to recut a segment because major news dropped, and by that is Grateful Dead 60 GD 60 Golden Gate Park, August 1, 2, and 3, right across the Bay Bridge in San Francisco, where it all began. I know we have a lot of opinions on Dead & Co., on the commodification of the Grateful Dead, post GD 50. We've talked about that, Jason. You and I have in the past on this show. But this is a tremendous event, all things considered. You've got 3 generations of openers in Billy Strings, Sturgill Simpson, Trey Anastasio Band. And then what's left of the core, I guess they're the core 3 now. Core 2, Kreutzmann, a participation unknown at this point. But yeah, they after the mayor let it slip a week ago that there was something planned for August.
Not John Mayer, mayor.
The mayor. The mayor of San Francisco. Now it's official. So, Jay, what are your snap reactions to this news?
Well, I guess the obvious thing is, like you said, the 3 different openers. After 2 mind-blowing and groundbreaking runs at the Sphere, they had to come with something more, a little something extravagant than the actual just Dead & Company shows that we got for the last years and years. And they brought these incredible openers, which you have to assume will also then join the guys later in the night.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, that is tradition, and it's also the quote unquote torch passing. And if you think about it, Billy Strings played with Billy and the Kids. And obviously Trey was in the Garcia slot for GD50. And I guess Weir and Sturgill have performed together. I don't know under anything Dead, but
did he do Mexico?
Okay, word. Sitting in at Dead & Company, or the Dead Ahead, whatever they call the Mexico thing. So there is like a connection lineage. It's not just talent buyers and agents like Tetrising together. I mean, it is. But at least there is some legitimacy to the character.
You're gonna try and sell a Sunday show, and you can't miss the Sunday show. You might as well bring Trey Anastasio on the bill. I mean, you can't. That's a great move right there.
Now, I have to say, one thing that really tickles me, other than the fact that it's close to me, is the storybook nature of it being literally back in the very fields where, you know, a lot of this happened to human being, and a lot of the, you know, storied halcyon days we've read about in books and seen in films and talked to old OGs about those days in the Haight-Ashbury. So they're actually going to do it, you know,
For free, like they did back in the day?
obviously, well, it's not for free. I mentioned, I don't know if we talked a little bit about it before with Deftones, but they did System of a Down, Deftones, Mars Volta there, 60,000 people, $200 face, sold it out. So I don't think it's going to be any issue with regard to selling tickets. It would be amazing if it was free. It would require crazy corporate sponsorship. You know, that was never going to happen. But
I was joking.
I know, but you know, people actually did think it could possibly be free. There was talk, you know. So I wanted to just point out that it's, you know, comparatively priced to Sphere. 3-day tickets start at $635, including fees, and $245 for single days, including fees. And there's a limited quantity of $60 tickets available by lottery for California fighter fighters.
Oh, that's very nice. What about the people that live in the park that are unhoused? Do they have to leave during the shows?
It'd be interesting. I mean, there's not that many of those folks in the park, particularly, but in the surrounding areas. Side note: what do you think about them billing him as Sturge and not Johnny Blue Skies? Is that like calling Kanye West?
I guess just, you know, under the, you know, on the spot, I'll say the classy environment of GD60. You know, you just want to, you know, kind of like, you got to wear your suit. You know, it's a big deal.
I think the artist formerly known as Sturge.
When you go backstage, maybe at a show like this and meet a fellow writer, you'll be like Brian Getz opposed to like B. Getz or something, no?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, it's a classier night, GD60.
So you don't buy the Johnny Blue Skies gimmick?
Let's just hope he lets the people record the show when he opens up for the Grateful Dead on.
Is he anti-taper?
I think he stopped letting the tapes in the middle of this tour. You haven't read about this?
No, I knew he was playing like 3-hour shows of Purple Rain covers. I didn't know he was not letting tapers.
So he got into like a little, like, he even spoke about it on stage, how like the fans were treating him like a jam band, and he's like, we're not a jam band or something. I don't, you know, paraphrasing. And he took all the shows from the tour off nugs.net.
Wow. And now he's playing GD60. He's got to make up his mind. You in or you out, bro? Doing the hokey pokey over here.
It's interesting how many people love to dip their toe in the water of the jam world, you know? Like when like the other career is like a little lacking, you know, whether it be a Les Claypool, John Mayer, you know.
Ryan Adams.
But Ryan Adams was resistant. If you ever read the interviews, he was like, they sent me so much material. I didn't really like, you know, he played one song with Phil, and the next, you know, a week or two later, he gets like an email from Phil's people like, hey, you know, we'd love for you to come and join us on the road, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh my, how do you say no to him? You know, he was like overwhelmed. Next thing you know, they sent him like 70 songs. He's like, holy shit. And now he's on stage at Red Rocks, and these people are critiquing everything he did, missing words and clicks. He's like, oh, fuck, you know.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
We're going to play for you is a song I didn't write called War Frat. And we're going to ask Phil Lesh to come out and play it with us.
Old man down, way down by the docks of the city.
Me and Shapiro and Robbie WK were at some Midtown Manhattan dive bar at like 4 a.m. back in the Cold Roses era, and he came in just blitzed, sat in the booth next to us with some chicks. We were trying to decide if it was an imposter or if it was really him, but it was really him.
Is this pre-catfish?
This is like pre him getting Me Too'd and all that shit for sure. But it was during the like Phil era. But I mean, he had come clean to Rolling Stone. He had like a heroin thing recently around that time, is what I remember.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I've always enjoyed his post though. He loves a lot of the same music we love. You know, he would always like, he'd be like, "What's your favorite song off Kicks Cold Blood?" And he would like list his top 5.
All right, back to GD60. What do you think about Trey taking the opener? Because he was in the band last go round, and now obviously it's Mayer's thing. That had to be weird. Just like taking a booking, being an opener. Like Trey could play Fish could play this show, just them, and sell the whole thing out. So it's just interesting.
Yeah. You know what? Back to like the Ryan Adams thing. Like even when Trey took the gig, 10 years ago, it was probably frustrating knowing that a whole new audience that is very, judgmental was about to watch him, and all eyes were going to be on him. So it's probably way easier this time to come with his guys and gals and open the show, and then come on and do a couple, fan favorites, and whew, all pressure's off.
Totally. Yeah. If you frame it like that, you're 100% right.
Is a total honor and something that we all, as the musicians up here, feel very, very, very lucky to be a part of. And I feel like I can't thank you enough. I mean, it's such a joy to be up here playing for you. And thank you. Really.
It's interesting because I find myself on the subreddits a lot, and and obviously I was locked up and was unable to attend GD50, or I would have been at one or both locations for sure. But at the time, people just couldn't get over how amazing of an experience it was, like culturally, whatever. But now when you read people's recollections, they kind of shit on the music. Does that jive with, like, because you didn't go, but you listened to it all enough times. What are your thoughts of the music?
It was like, I think Trey definitely was respectful and held back and didn't do his peaks and valleys, and just, if you were expecting Trey to take over the show, he didn't. It was a celebration of the music. That was probably what from what I heard from all my friends that went reading online, that it was just a big celebration of the music of the Grateful Dead.
You may be the fate of Ophelia, sleeping and perchance to dream, honest to the point of recklessness, self-centered to the extreme.
And you know what? It's also kind of like the first experience of the crazy ticket prices and crazy ticket packages that they introduced the Grateful Dead fans to, which is now common nature. So now for the last decade, the blueprint for GB50 is common play when it comes to Dead and Company stadium shows and the Sphere.
You read my mind, man. I was going to ask you, what do you think, even for the umpteenth Fish tour a few months ago, weeks ago, whatever it was, people had meltdowns about tickets and the whole bots and resale and all that and legalized scalping. When the bots hit this show, same old, but I do expect there to be some chaos around tickets. I'm hopefully going to get a media angle. If not, maybe just guerrilla media. But I can't see myself paying $700 to go all 3 nights. That's for sure. But if it's that's face, what do you think that, do you expect there to be a robust resale / legalized scalper market, or do you think maybe they get it right this time?
One of my, we all have top few favorite memes that we all love. One of my favorite memes is the Jerry Garcia at the press conference holding the sign saying, "What the fuck is a VIP pack?"
speed up, booty cologne. She wants money. What she wants? She wants money. What she wants? She wants money. What she wants? She wants money. What she wants?
Let's say, like, you know, Guns N' Roses has VIP packages that go all the way up to $1,500 or $2,500. Well, once you sell like 50 or 100 of those, you know, you're already into like six figures, you know, and it's just like a tiny little section of the building. Then you got like, you know, 60,000 other tickets to play with. That's the funny thing is Billy Strings will be the highlight of all three gets, and you know Trey's my guy when it comes to the three gentlemen. But Billy Strings, it's 2025. Billy Strings is so hot. He's got so much energy. You want to go see Billy Strings. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to Trey, but, you know, we know what we're getting out of Trey. Like, Billy's not going to hold back. He's going to fucking tear that shit up.
We rode up to Venerio as we rode up to Venerio. Our captain fell in love with a lady like a dove, and he called her by name, Pretty Peggy-O.
Fun fact: just today was announced he's one of the guests on the Cryptocracy re-release from '94, like this obscure Canadian death metal band. They like recut a bunch of songs for the like anniversary release, and Billy Strings is the lead on this like Canadian death metal band from the '90s.
Crown of horns, slit your guts, graves of the fathers, dead and dripping. Orgiastic disembowelment.
Fuck. I can't believe he hasn't like gone full electric yet. Like, you know, I'm so surprised how he's you know, his bluegrass band's obviously the shit. It's playing fucking hockey arenas. How can anybody say that about a bluegrass band? But, you know, it's he's so talented. We'd love to see him do so much more.
Dream podcast. Fingers crossed one day. I would love to have him on the show. Billy, Pat May, if you're listening, we've got to make it happen. It's been fucking great catching up with you. Thank you for the emergency pod update.
Yep. Peace and love.
Much love. That girl is poison. DTF. Deitch Title Freibush. Brand new. Hot off the press. The album is out now. Another Side of the Sound. Saw the debut at the Maple Leaf Uptown during Jazz Fest. You know, and they dropped the BBD. East Coast Family for Life. And speaking of, shout out to my man J.A. for that awesome conversation. Always hilarious. My man. And before that, also East Coast family, Dogs in a Pile. Fucking love those dudes. So like we always do about this time, the Vibe Junkie Jams. We're going to split it up. So first things first, I'm just going to come off the top rope with Nikki and the Homies. You heard a little bit at the top of the episode. I'm going to play the whole 17 minutes of Spread That Feeling All Around by the band Pleasure. Nikki's always taken us to school with the obscure funk and soul classics from the late 70s, early 80s. And this is a banger. Every song on this whole tape is a banger. The show was unbelievable. But I'm going with Spread That Feeling All Around, primarily because it's an absolute thumper, but also because it's not on Spotify. Every other song they played is on Spotify, but you got to go to the YouTube to Spread That Feeling All Around. So since they blew my mind during Jazz Fest, we out here. We're going to play Nikki and the Homies, May 4th, late night at the Maple Leaf. Shout out Keith Antaya, the taper, doing the damn thing. We appreciate you. And then going to finish off with the Dogs. Dogs in a Pile. Got to play something for the Vibe Junkie Jams. And to be honest, I took quite a bit of time and research because I wanted to play something that I liked, that I really authentically dug. So I listened to quite a bit and watched some vids. Dude, they have so much stuff on Nugs, on fucking YouTube, full shows, individual tunes, soundboard audio, multicam. The kids are all right. But we're going to go with Look Johnny from January 28th, 25. Stateroom in Salt Lake City, Utah. And the reason I picked Look Johnny is primarily because the jam, the jam section is dope. It's my vibe. It's like dreamy, spacey, dark, foreboding, emotional. It's a little bit different than some of the other jams I heard from them, and I was really authentically digging Look Johnny. So we'll finish up with Look Johnny, Dogs in a Pile, and that'll do it for episode 88 of the Upful LIFE podcast. I'm going to get back on the grind now that I did the Jazz Fest and the big article and all that. Please check that out. Live for Live Music, upfullife.com. Back together again. A nocturnal rage report from Jazz Fest After Dark 2025. I encourage everybody to please check that out. Put my foot into this one. And with that, we'll say goodbye. God bless. I'll see you real soon. And we'll see you next time.
Max Bronstein on the guitar, y'all. Tycoon's on the percussion, y'all. Clap duty.
Look, Johnny, I don't do the cooking. The hotels and the flights need a booking. I never said you wasn't good looking. Never said you wasn't good. Look, Johnny, knocking in for nothing. If you're barging in, it better be for something. I never said you couldn't be something. Never said you couldn't be.
Still better than yesterday in this world, in this world. I can't stop turning the page in this world, in this world. Red and yellow work best, I say, in this world, in this world. Look, Johnny, it'll be okay if you just leave me alone. Boom!
Look, Johnny, I don't do the token. The hotels and the flights, they need a booking. I never said you wasn't good looking. Never said you wasn't good. Look, Johnny, knocking in for nothing. If you're bathing, then it better be for something. I never said you couldn't be something. Never said you couldn't be.
Still better than yesterday in this world, in this world. I can't stop turning the page in this world, in this world. Red and yellow work best, I say, in this world, in this world. Look, Johnny, it'll be okay if you just leave me alone. Boom! world. I can't stop turning the page in this world, in this world. Red and yellow work best, I say, in this world, in this world. Look, Johnny, it'll be okay if you just leave me alone. Still better than yesterday in this world, in this world. I can't stop turning the page in this world, in this world. Red and yellow work best, I say, in this world.